So we're going to begin on our backs. I want you to fold your blanket up into a tamale, and your head's going to be positioned at the top of the blanket, and I want you to stage a couple of blocks on the mama bear height at a location that's going to be over your head. So don't worry so much about the exact placement of those blocks. We'll fine tune that. And so have your booty on the ground and then lay back over the blanket and have the top of your head up at the top of the blanket. And so you'll have a nice little arch in your lower back. And extend your arms out to the side, palms facing up. And here I have my hands not horizontal, not out to a T, but maybe 45 degrees from my hips. And let your soles of your feet be on the floor. Let your knees fall in towards one another. And then gently close your eyes. And we're going to begin by bringing our attention to the breath. And the simple process of bringing your attention to your breath helps to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest nervous system. It's the opposite of the fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system. Simply by observing the movement of the breath. And so we'll be here for a few moments. Returning to the practice, returning to allowing your body to become very settled. Where the yin practice is about yielding and allowing the process to happen. We're not trying to make something happen, we simply yield. I'm going to read something from Iyengar's Light on Pranayama. So the background is the definition for yoga from the Sutras of Patanjali. Yoga is chitta vritti nirodha, which means the chitta is your consciousness, and vritti is fluctuation, so the turning of your consciousness, the churning of the thoughts in your head. And nirodha means the stilling, the stopping the turning, stopping the churning of your mind, to create a union of the mind and the body and the spirit. And Iyengar says that chitta, the consciousness, and prana, which is your life force, are in constant association. Where there is chitta, their prana is focused, and where prana is there, chitta is focused. The chitta is like a vehicle propelled by two powerful forces. Again, your consciousness is like a vehicle prepared by two powerful forces, prana and vasana. Vasana means desires. The consciousness moves in the direction of the more powerful force. As a ball rebounds when struck to the ground, so it is the sadhaka, that's you, the sadhaka is tossed according to the movement of prana and chitta. If breath, the prana prevails, then the desires are controlled. If the breath prevails, then the desires are controlled. The senses are held in check, and the mind is stilled. If the force of desire prevails, the breathing becomes uneven, and the mind gets agitated. And so this is a nice little hint from Iyengar about the nature of the relationship between our breath, its control, so pranayama, its regulation, and its impact on our mind and our being. So now open your eyes, and we're going to transition into our first pose of the day. And so from here, we're just going to lift our arms overhead, and hopefully, you may need to move your blocks around a little bit. I want you to have your forearms come to rest on the blocks. And so have your hands a little bit wider than shoulder width here, and have your palms facing one another. Palms facing one another. And then go ahead and straighten both legs. Straighten both legs. And you may need to move around a little bit until you can find a comfortable position here. The reason for having your hands wider than shoulder width is to help reduce, pinching in your shoulders. So this should feel comfortable. You're creating some space. So you're allowing your body to soften completely. And here the first tattva of the yin practice about finding your edge may or may not apply. We're not really trying to go for a big edge here. We're just creating space. And so the edge is in how much space you're creating in your shoulders. But then the second principle, the second tattva of the yin practice is very much apropos to find stillness. First in your breath. And after finding stillness in your breath, then stillness in your mind and in your body will follow. And it's okay if you become briefly distracted, if you need to wriggle a little bit, if whatever. Simply begin again and bring your attention back to your breath and allow it to become still. Good. So a few more breaths here. Good. And to come out of the pose, simply on an exhale, bring your hands back through center, down by your hips, and allow your palms to come to rest. Let your hands come to rest with your palms face up on the ground. And we'll be here for a couple of breaths. So next, bend both knees and put your soles of your feet flat on the floor. And then scoot your booty to the right a little bit and then roll to the left. And we're going to come off the blanket. And now change the orientation of your blanket so that it goes crossways across your mat. And bring your 2 blocks from overhead. Have a seat up on your blanket and extend both legs straight. Okay. And so we're going to move next into caterpillar, which is a forward fold. So slowly begin by moving your belly forward. So we're going to use some yang principles to get us into the yin posture. First, move your belly button forward. If your knees need to bend a little bit to be comfortable, that's fine. Push your belly button forward, push your sternum forward as far as you can, and then use the blocks to create something for your forehead to come to rest on. Yeah, so we're going to be here for a total of 4 minutes, and we're about a minute into it already. So here, finding your edge, finding a comfortable edge is a key part of the practice. And so for some of us that have a lot of mobility in our hamstrings, you can relax your legs and your legs will naturally sink towards the floor. If you feel really tight in your hamstrings and you can't do that, that's okay. Bend your knees a little bit. It's okay to do that. Bend your knees. You're making it easier for yourself so that you can then relax. So find the right position for you that's going to work. It's a balancing act of finding the edge where you feel significant resistance along the backside of your body, with finding a posture, a position that works for you. Good. And then after finding your edge, then come to a place of stillness. Remember what Iyengar said, that the consciousness goes in the direction of either desire or prana, depending on which is stronger. And so by focusing on your breath, you're moving your consciousness in that direction, towards stillness, towards being observant and curious about what's happening in your body and in your mind. And then the third principle of the yin practice is that we hold these positions for time. And by keeping the body soft, the stress that we put into connective tissue over time produces a biological reaction of strengthening the connective tissue, the fascia, the material that holds us together. Good. So a couple of more breaths here. Good. And now, slowly, as you exhale, rise back up. Good. And let's move the blocks out of the way for a moment. And scoot your booty forward and come to rest on your back again. We're going to take a break here on your back. Good. Palms face up, knees are bent, soles of the feet flat on the floor. So we try to alternate yin poses where we put stress into the body. We try to alternate those poses with poses where we can rest for a short amount of time. And it gives your body and mind a chance to just sort of unwind a little bit, to recover from the stress of the pose. Good. So roll to one side or the other, and we're going to make our way back up to a seated position. And go ahead and move the blanket from the mat. You don't need it right now. And the next pose that we're going to do is a reclining swan. So place your hands a little bit behind your body, a little bit behind your shoulders. Good. And begin with your legs straight. So you're leaning back into your hands, legs are straight. Cross your right leg over your left thigh. And then, as best you can, bend the left knee. And so you're creating this figure four with your lower body and leaning back. So it's sort of a yang-like pose in the sense that you're having to support some weight in your arms, but you're creating length along the front side of your body, and you're also creating length in the outside of your right hip. So your right ankle is flexed. Flex your right ankle, and that will protect your right knee. And as you relax, imagine your right knee moving away from your shoulder. So gravity helps to pull your right knee down. Good. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this pose 2 minutes on each side. 2 minutes on each side. And so notice where you feel resistance in your body and in your mind. Notice where you feel signals coming from your body. Good. And now to come out of this pose, just first begin by straightening your left leg and shift your weight forward. Good. And we'll uncross your right leg. Good. And now we'll go ahead and move straight away into the other side. So lean back a little bit, hands positioned slightly behind you, fingertips facing forward. Cross your left ankle over your right knee and let your left knee descend down towards the ground. And then bend your right knee, however much is appropriate for you. So you're going to want to find an edge for you where you're feeling noticeable sensation, noticeable resistance in your left hip, primarily, but to some extent also in your shoulders and your thoracic spine. And sometimes we have some poses we like more than others. They feel more comfortable, or they just may work better for some of us. That's okay. That's to be expected. And if this pose is one of the ones that you're less comfortable with, that's okay. Use the principles of the practice to guide you through the difficult pose, the pose that's difficult for you. So after finding the appropriate edge, and find stillness in your breath so that you can observe better where you feel resistance, either in your body or in your mind. And if you notice specific types of emotions arising, that's okay. Make note of them and then bring your attention back to your breath. We'll be here for a few more breaths. Good. And now let's come out of the pose by straightening the right leg. Good. Uncross your left leg. Good. Lean forward a bit and go ahead and come back onto your back with your knees bent for a few breaths. And as you're here in this rest position, notice the sensations in your body. How does your body feel after you've released the tension, after you've released the pose that's created the stress inside your body? Those difficult poses are very useful because they help you to learn and understand that you can be uncomfortable but be relaxed and still. You can be all of those things at the same time. Good. So from here, we're going to roll into our side again. Good. And now we're going to transition to all fours. Good. So the next couple of poses, we're going to be doing thread the needle, and so you don't really need any props for this pose. So begin by having your hips positioned over your knees, and then walk your hands forward as far as you can, and eventually your head's going to land on the ground. Whoops, sorry, I made a mistake. Come back to all fours. Good. Reach forward with your right hand. Reach forward with your right hand. And now take your left hand and bring it through underneath your body and out to the right so that you're twisting, and then come to rest on your left shoulder. So my right elbow is bent and I'm on my left shoulder. And I've had to rotate my right hand just a little bit so that the fingers point more towards the midline of my body. And that's a bit more comfortable for me. Good. And so this thread the needle pose is a twist through the torso. And so you should be feeling the effects of a pretty significant twist here. And you can control the depth of the pose by reaching further away with your left hand or bringing your left hand a little closer to your body. That will adjust the amount of twist in your torso. Good. And again, we're going to be here for 2 minutes on each side. Good. So to come out of the pose, press into the ground with your right hand to lighten the load off of your left shoulder and unwind and bring your left hand back under your left shoulder so that we're back to all fours. And we're going to go straight away into the other side now. So take your left hand and reach forward and place your left hand on the ground. And then take your right hand and snake it through and underneath your body out to the left. And come to rest on your right shoulder and the right side of your head. And you may feel a little bit different on this side than the other side. And so from a functional perspective, you should be striving for having roughly equal amounts of stress on both sides. Equal amounts of stress on both sides, as opposed to, some absolute amount of twist being the same on both sides. So as you're coming to a place of stillness here really consciously allow your body to relax. Let the stillness in your breath permeate through your body so that you're releasing muscular engagement as much as possible so that you can have the stress of the pose be directed into the fascia, the connective tissue. Get a few more breaths here. Good. And so to come out of the pose, press into your left hand and unwind and come back to all fours. Good. And let's go ahead and move into child's pose for a few breaths. So let your hips settle back and down and let your forehead come to rest on the mat. And you can have your arms like I have mine. So my elbows are essentially underneath my shoulders. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you can reach your hands towards your feet. Some people like to do child's pose that way. Good. So let's come back up to all fours. And next we're going to move into Sphinx. So come onto your stomach. And have your elbows positioned underneath your shoulders. You're reaching forward with both hands and press down into the ground with both hands. Press into the ground with both hands. And with your feet, with your toes, imagine that there's an elephant attached to your feet, pulling your feet away from your waist. So you're getting long through the legs. You're pressing into the ground through both hands. And so this is very much a yang-like sort of operation. And now, with all of that going on, imagine trying to pull your belly button forward using your hands. So you're using your hands to try and scoot your belly button forward. And when you do that, you're going to feel a lot of stress in your back. And when you get to an edge, a place that feels like a good edge for you, then simply relax everything. Relax everything. So Sphinx pose is one of those magical poses that does so much good for you. Those of us who are hunched over desks all day long, because we're counteracting the shape of sitting at the desk all day. So I had another thing that I was going to read for you. This is from Mark Nepo. Sometimes there's just too much to consider, too much to understand and analyze, too many consequences to play out in our mind, too many things to clean, unpack, or repair before we can go out and play. Sometimes the simplest and best use of our will is to drop it all and just walk out from under everything that is covering us, even if only for an hour or so. Just walk out from underneath the webs we've spun, the tasks we've assumed, the problems we have to solve. They'll be there when we get back, and maybe some of them will fall apart without our worry to hold them up. Wouldn't that be nice? And so you're doing that now by drawing your attention to your breath and exploring the stillness of your breath and your body and your mind. And so we're going to go for one more minute. And if you're happy here, that's great. If you'd like to deepen your pose a little bit, you can begin to straighten both arms and come into a seal pose. And so you're going to be creating more arch in your back in seal pose. And you can increase the edge in seal pose by walking your hands towards your body a little bit, one at a time, and then straightening your arms again. You'll find the right sort of edge for you. Now, seal pose is not comfortable for everyone. Not everybody's going to like this. And so if you're in seal pose, you have an extra challenge to find stillness in the presence of the increased stress. Good. And now to come out of the pose, if you're in seal, just place your elbows back on the ground, and then everybody cross your hands and lay your head on your backs of your hands. I like to have my forehead on my hands to keep my neck symmetric and straight. If you want to rotate your head and lay one side of your head on your hands, that's fine. Good. So next, place your hands on the floor underneath your shoulders and make your way up to all fours. Good. And then from here, we're going to set up for another pose. So here we're going to use both of our blocks. We're going to place one of the blocks on the baby bear height, maybe about a little bit higher than halfway on the mat. And the other block we'll place on the mama bear height, a little bit higher. And in a moment, we're going to lay back over these two blocks. And we want the lower block to be positioned right between the shoulder blades. And then we'll place our heads on the other block. But before we get there, I want you to find your strap. And then have a seat on your mat. Good. Bend both knees, let your knees fall out to the side, and find the midpoint of your strap, like this. And then take the midpoint of the strap and place it on top of your feet. And then loop each side of the strap underneath your feet. And then you have a couple of handles of your strap. Bring the handles of the strap, the tails of the strap between your legs, and you'll notice that you have like a bridle for your feet. You can pull your feet closer to your waist, but don't go crazy with that yet. We'll get there. And so now position your bum so that when you lay down, you have the first block roughly like on your bra line, if you know where that is. And then the other block underneath your head. And then from there, you have your hands on the tails of the strap, and then slowly begin to pull your feet towards your pelvis. And so you're going to have to experiment a little bit and find the right sort of edge for you. And so after you begin to find the right sort of positioning for your mid back and your head and your feet and your legs, then place the backs of your hands on the ground, palms face up. And we're going to be here for a total of 5 minutes. So here in this pose, you can really come to a place of stillness, deep stillness, and then let gravity do all of the work for you. So in the place of stillness, you're releasing all muscular engagement. And the stresses that you feel in your body are beneficial. So welcome the sensation of the stress. The connective tissue, the fascia that runs throughout your body, includes the ligaments and tendons, it includes the packaging around muscle fibers, it includes the sheath around your bones. And when you create stress on the tissue, your body responds by trying to make the tissue stronger in a way, in the direction of the stress being created. And so here we're creating a big arch throughout the spine. And so creating stress along the posterior sides of the vertebrae, which they don't get very much in sort of normal hunched over the desk positions. And incidentally, this region in the spine that's being targeted right now is the site of most osteoporosis in older females. So we're targeting a region of the body that can benefit from it very much. And so we got about 30 more seconds here. So to come out of the pose, place your hands on the outsides of both thighs and use your hands to help bring your knees back together. Good, and pull your feet out of the strap. And let's pause here first. This is going to be a two-stage transition. First with the legs. Good. And now scoot your booty a little bit to the right. And now very slowly bring your left elbow out to the side, and then very slowly roll to the left off of the blocks onto your side. And we're going to hang out here for just a few breaths on your side. Good. And then very slowly come to an upright seated position briefly. And let's get the blocks and strap and stuff off of the mat for the moment. Good. And come back onto your back. Good. And draw both knees into the chest. Both knees into the chest. Good. And now let your right leg go long, left leg stays bent, and maybe do some circles with your left leg. You're moving the femur and the hip joint. Yeah, a little bit of motion feels good. And now take your right hand on the outside of your left knee and let's rotate to the right. So you're twisting to the right. Good. And extend your left arm out to the side. Good. Both shoulders should be on the floor. You're keeping your upper back on the floor. Your left hip, of course, has to come up off of the ground as you twist to the right. We're not going to be here that long. This was just a quick counter pose to the long hold that we just did. Good. And then back to center. Draw both knees into the chest. Good. Rock side to side, front to back. Good. And now the left leg goes long. Left leg goes long. And place your right hand on the outside of your left knee. And we're going to rotate to the left and extend your right arm out to the side. Good. You can look to the right as you twist to the left. And as you're here in this one leg twist, one knee twist, imagine lengthening through the right side body as you relax. Your body softens and you create space in the right side of the body. Good. And then back to center. Good. And very slowly make your way back up to a seated position. We're going to set up our props for the final pose of the evening. So we're going to use both blocks and the blanket. So set your blocks up on the Papa Bear height. Towards the end of your mat. And take your blanket and we'll place the blanket on top of the two blocks. We're making our little Stonehenge here. And then make your way onto your back. We want our calves positioned basically on top of the blocks, and the blanket helps provide some stability. And then back onto your back. Good. And rotate your hands so they face the ceiling. The backs of your hands relax on the ground. And here we're going to do this restorative posture combined with Shavasana. So this is your Shavasana. And so close your eyes. And here there's no edge we're trying to create through the posture. We're simply allowing the body to relax while remaining attentive and alert as we allow the body to completely relax. And so let your attention follow your breath into your body and then back out. Become very attuned to the sensation of the movement of air. And then notice the movement of your body in response to the movement of the air. Noticing the movement of the four sides of the torso, the front and the back and the sides. And in this deepening state of relaxation, bring your awareness to the movement of your upper back, the sensations in your upper back. This is a part of the body that escapes notice. And allowing your attention to and awareness to continue to expand throughout your body. Maybe with your legs elevated, the sensation in your feet is different now than at other times. How does it feel different? Maybe you have a sensation deeper inside your body of movement, even though you're still. Good, so a few more breaths here. Good, so we'll begin to deepen our breath. Exhale completely, and then allow your body to slowly fill a little bit more deeply on the inhale. And begin to invite some motion back into your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes as you continue to deepen your breath. Good. So we're going to make our way onto our left side. First, by taking your left leg and moving it to the left off of the block. So you want the outside of the left leg on the ground. And then you'll do the same with the right leg as you rotate to the left onto your side into a fetal pose for just a few breaths. Good. And then very slowly, let's make our way back to an upright seated position. I like to sit up on a block in Sukhasana, but you can sit however you like. Ideally, your knees are lower than your hips. Your knees are lower than your hips, because that allows you to sit more upright. Good. Bring your hands in front of your heart. Good. And keeping your eyes open here, noticing the movement of the breath. The sensation of the backs of your thumbs touching your breastbone here as you're completing the circle, touching your own body, reminding yourself that you're there. Good. Whole body inhale, whole body exhale. The light in me bows to the light in you. It's great to see you in practice again. We'll see you again next week. Take care, everybody.